Game changer, senior analyst Joe Houston, and start with what it's like having to hit the transfer portal for a punter, Tommy Doman, and then talking about playmakers in the return game.
What's it like portal hunting for a punter?
Competitive. Yeah, we were lucky to get Tommy. Tommy's gonna be a instrumental part of our future this fall.
What was that process like recruiting him? Obviously, probably not a hard sell to replace Jeremy, but and what did you guys like about his game and what he can provide?
Yeah, well, first is the experience. Being a 2-year starter at Michigan, playing in tough conditions, also having a guy from a program that's won a national championship. So he's been on that journey before, but the warm weather in Florida was an easy sell. So yeah, we're very, very fortunate to have him.
And it's also a bonus too that he holds.
He does, yes, that's right. So Phil and Crawshaw's shoes are going to be big to fill, but he does hold as well, which is going to be critical.
Where does Tre have room to grow, and what are you looking for this kid for him this season?
Yeah, so I would, Tre missed 3 kicks last year. All right, he missed 3 kicks, and you'd wish you'd have all 3 of them back. Texas, Tennessee, UCF. His field goals are very, I'd say they're NFL caliber. He's got that kind of a leg, the pop, the mentality too that supplements his technique. He's taken leaps and bounds from 23 to 24, and we're looking forward to his development and continued growth in next season. I would say if there's one thing that he would improve on, it was just field goal accuracy, especially on the right hash.
You've got some freshmen that were dynamic return guys in high school. Do you anticipate using them in either the return game or the block kick game?
Yeah, so no, really good question too, because Chim was so great for us. Yeah. A lot of our success on that unit was predicated on him and his decision making, his ability. So we're working a ton of guys at that area, not just some of the younger guys, but Tre Wilson, Tank Hawkins, Jaden Ball, Jacoby Jackson, J. Michael Sturdivant, Aiden Mizell, Vernell Brown III, Duke Clark, Dallas Wilson, Nashawn Montgomery, and DeBron Hampton have all been getting reps at that position, and they're going to compete for it. The best guy's going to be the starter.
Are those guys also in the mixed kick return as well?
Yeah, so it's nice Jaden comes back. Jaden did a good job last year. We're going to see the dynamic and see how the roles are established this year moving forward. That's the beauty of a new year. It's a clean slate for everyone. I haven't called the play, I haven't coached the play, so we're all starting from scratch, and the best players are going to play.
What about pump block, though? What's your mindset going into that? What are you looking for, and who do you see being in those positions?
Yeah, so all those guys that I mentioned are competing. Yes, sir.
For all those. Okay.
That's right. Yes, sir. So what we're looking for, decision maker first, an effective communicator. I would say ball handling, ball security. Say all the time, job security, ball security. If you want to keep your job, you got to keep the ball. So part of that is decision making. Part of that is communication. And so all those guys are going to be competing for that role.
There we go. You could tell I don't know who it was. They were asking about more pump block, but Houston was going more for punt return. Yeah. So we didn't get much answer about pump block there. But of course, with the speed on this team, I think that's what they were getting at there. Can you get more there? But look, loved hearing the dive in there of how the roles are determined. Special teams aren't an afterthought anymore, and certainly made a positive move last season under Houston's tutelage. But they were much better last year. Now, can you take another step to be game changing? We thought Billy Napier loves calling the special teams game changers. Last year was better, and look, your game changers were. You have Trey Smack only missing 3 field goals all year long, and of course, Crawshaw punting. The game changers in their own rights. So those guys got to do their jobs. They don't. Look, most of the time, if a field goal kicker or a punter does their job, it gets a little overlooked. But if they don't do their job, it's pretty big. A lot of risk reward there for those positions, as there always are for kickers and punters. But when most people think game changers, it is returning a punt return for a touchdown. And Chimere Dike was a pretty good punt returner in his own right, and had some game changing moments. But overall, where are your punt blocks, your field goal blocks, your punt returns for touchdowns, your kickoff returns for touchdowns? That's the next step. I took a big step last year, getting the right number of guys on the field for the most part as well. Special teams Matt comes out. But look, joking aside, they were much better under Joe Houston. Now it's about that next step and those real impact game-changing moments. And now look, the big thing with the list of players, and you all noticed it, big names involved. So how does Florida balance using its most valuable players on special teams while keeping them healthy? It's a complex decision, according to Houston on Saturday in that press conference. And he said the Gators aim to avoid overrocking their star players while recognizing special teams is a crucial role. Look, in the SEC, you're looking for any advantage you can get. And the special teams is one of them. Field position is one of them. But your special players there. The typical approach for this staff is, the experienced veterans on special teams and gradually transition those roles into younger players. But, kind of going back to what he said, until these young guys end up taking those roles over, it starts with the vets. And then as the roles get established, then it's my job to make sure that we're not putting too much of a load on one player. And now that we have depth here, it will be great because more guys will be doing more stuff. So what this tells me that if you see some of the younger guys out there for special teams, then they did a lot to get their chance. It's not just throw the fastest guy out there. It's you got to go earn it. We're going to give those spots to veterans. We're going to give those spots to guys we trust. Because special teams can be a disaster too. We saw that benefit Florida in that late game stretch with Ole Miss and LSU. I believe there were some special teams snafus on their end. And Florida's been with Pearsall and DK the last few years. Florida's been pretty safe for punt return. Not muff punts that do Florida in. So that lets the trust and the type of guys they want back there. Another angle is I just love the Stars wanting to be involved. Extending this, I want to go back to Russ Callaway for a second and about Tre Wilson. Callaway, said about Tre Wilson that we're pretty interesting about his development. Quote, he's really buffed up, Callaway told us, describing how Wilson's taken this really professional approach to building his body and getting stronger. And here's what's impressive. He hasn't lost any of that explosiveness. And as Callaway put it, Wilson still got all that quick twitch ability and speed that makes him special. Tyler Miles, of course, the strength and conditioning coach, he had a lot to say on the matter as well. Quote, I don't know if you guys have seen Tre, but I mean, he's jacked. So that durability is going to come with that. But the main thing about getting him back was progressing the right way in the weight room. Yes, but then also the volume in which he's doing running and excess details and all that. Keeping it going, he says, really just want to be very careful with him. Let's make sure that he's 100% and we build him back right before we just let him go. Because if it was up to him, he probably would. But he's done a great job. He's put on a lot of muscle. He's weighing 190 pounds. And now consistently, that's not normal for him. It's a good thing there. And look, I think this really says something that even after the injury, that hip injury to Tre Wilson, that both Wilson and the staff want him to be involved in special teams. They're not backing away from using one of their best playmakers. They're just focused on making plays however they can. I think, that says a lot about the culture there and using these big names. And I think these guys want to make plays on special teams as well. So I think if Tre Wilson's heavy or healthy and heavier, got some more pounds on him, if he can still be that weapon, still that quick twitch speed, yeah, you're going to see him with the ball more in his hands. Now, there's that injury history, of course, but you can't really coach scared too much. And Florida's deep. Florida's offense did some things without Tre Wilson last year. You don't want to carelessly put him in harm's way. But if you think he can be a playmaker, at kick returner, at punt returner, Then you let him do so. But hey, Joe Houston, also among those praising Vernell Brown III. Of course, the 5-star signee. On Saturday, he raved about the true freshman speed. Houston went on to say, quote, he's got what I can't coach. So that's about the best way to put it. And then according to Houston, speed also, it made DK such a good returner. And we saw it. We saw it at the NFL Combine. Chimere DK, deceptively fast, I think was the best way to put it. But it wasn't deceptive at the NFL Combine when everybody can sit there with a clock and watch the NFL Network and see what time pops up. So according to Houston, that speed also made DK such a good returner. So you can certainly tell, they might be catering to some speed back there. When Billy Napier first got here, what was Xavier Henderson returning punts, and I think that was nothing more than just, hey, put somebody back there who's not going to give the ball away. Okay, you got that. Then Ricky Pearsall comes along. And it took a bit, but Ricky finally found his footing as a punt returner. And by the time he left, he was a pretty good punt returner. DK took it to another level last year. Can somebody else take it to even more game-changing status? So given the amount of fast players he's looking at for Joe Houston for return positions this spring, Houston said it's possible the Gators might go to a, quote, 2-returner set. He added, quote, we're going to try to get creative in how we do it. Could you imagine a Tre Wilson and a Vernell Brown 2-man punt return back there? A Vernell Brown III and Aiden Mizell? A Jaden Ball and a Vernell Brown III? A Dallas Wilson and a Jaden Ball? I mean, Nashawn Montgomery, Tank Hawkins. We could keep going down the list. Florida's got a lot of speed. We talked about it at the beginning of this episode. You're talking about a lot of receivers here, but Jaden Ball, I thought did a pretty good job as a kick returner last year too. You don't get as many chances, of course, with the touchbacks, but certainly something to look forward to. Florida not shying away from getting their stars involved in the kick return, punt return game. And maybe, if we couldn't really get a clear answer there, in the punt block game as well. I know everybody goes back to the Urban Meyer days there, and Janoris Jenkins and Joe Hayden coming, on punt block and getting there and blocking punts and making game-changing plays. Maybe that's what we're looking for this year in the special teams.